Welcome back to another episode of Ministry of Truth. I am your, well, am I the only host? Last time I checked, I was the only host as of this morning, so hopefully we're still good. Good morning, Shauna. Long time no see. I hope you are doing well on this fine Tuesday afternoon, to where we're going to talk about something a little bit different. It's like our food, right? What toxins are in our food? We have no fucking idea. What happens if the toxins in our food are literally right there in front of us, but the government is not there to tell you about it, right? Well, we're going to get into the food, but let's see what happens, when a lithium ion battery has a bad day. And then we'll talk the effects of these lithium ion batteries having a bad day.
I cannot wait for you all to see this story. From GM to Ford, we know electric vehicles are the future. And even with the current grid and infrastructure issues we have got to figure out, they are better for our planet. We got one here in my home because I wanted to be part of the climate crisis solution. But then I realized I don't really know anything about the new power, the battery I'm sitting on. It has lithium in it, and right now there is a white gold rush for lithium. It's an industry worth billions that could boost our economy, but at what cost to our planet?
The critical element that powers our fast and loud world comes from some of the quietest, most desolate land on Earth, the Mojave Desert in Nevada.
Mojave.
Here at Silver Peak, they're not mining rock, they're farming lithium. These brilliant blue pools come from wells that tapped underground salt aquifers. Each of them, nearly 500 football fields long, are rich in lithium. Now, once the original well is drilled, it goes through a series of ponds. They look beautiful, very different colors there behind me. The sun and the arid nature of Nevada here takes care of the processing. 18 months later, lithium carbonate.
See, lithium is finite, and we've got to find a way to recycle it, because soon there'll be a lot more batteries. Ford and GM among the car makers that are promising an electric slide.
The promise of a renewable industry we believe is important is the recycling of lithium. So the idea would be we get to a point where you recycle the resource.
But that is something that we need to work on big time in this country and the globe.
Nevada isn't the only state that has potential. California could produce up to 40% of the global lithium demand. We just have to find the technology to get it out.
They could create $9 billion in revenue for this part of Nevada, but they're also endangering a very rare wildflower.
There are
Yeah,
only
you stupid
15,000
fuck.
of these plants, more or less.
This varietal of wildflower is not known to grow anywhere else in the world. The buckwheat adapted to the lithium-rich soil. It's an important balance, and the wildflower is just another symbol of the debate between our energy future and our environment now.
We absolutely need to do it right. And right now, those impacts are being offshored to distant countries. Do we need to do it here in America? We need to be asking those hard questions about what sacrifices are we going to make. Our advocacy to protect this little wildflower here does not
What up,
mean
Yeti?
that we're trying to avoid those hard questions.
In Nevada itself, there are 2 open pit mines planned, so we're going to be watching those.
This
But only
3 years old,
5% of
guys.
lithium-ion batteries right now are recycled the right way. So that has to change. But lithium is different than fossil fuel because it can be reused. We just have to
Really?
make sure we do it right. You'll just see so much more of that piece and more.
Really? Have they found out how to refine it yet? They have ways, but why haven't they been doing it? It's been 3 years. 3 fucking years since this story came out. Yep. Interesting, right? Still haven't come up with anything better, and if we have, we still aren't using it. Makes sense. So why are these lithium-ion batteries far less safer than, the aluminum, the sodium? There's one more, I can't fucking remember what it was right now. I'm sure it'll come back to me. But this is going to explain a little bit to why these lithium batteries are actually more toxic to the environment than you really think. Because if these motherfuckers catch on fire, then it's a bad world for... Ah, fuck me.
So let's talk about something that's been popping up in the news a lot lately. Electric vehicles catching fire. You've probably seen a headline or two. Maybe it was about a parked EV suddenly going up in flames, or a crash where the fire looked way more dramatic than you'd expect. And naturally, it raises eyebrows. People start asking, are these things safe? Why do EV batteries catch fire? And more importantly, should we be worried every time we plug in our car or sit in traffic? Well, the truth is, there's a lot more to the story than the flashy headlines suggest. So let's unpack this in plain language and get to the bottom of what's actually going on with these EV fires. Right here on History of Simple Things.
Wait, was that it?
The heart of the matter is the battery itself, specifically the lithium-ion battery. These are the same type of batteries powering your smartphone, laptop, power tools, and even electric toothbrushes. But in an EV, we're talking about a massive pack, often made up of thousands of smaller cells, all packed tightly together. Lithium-ion batteries are amazing because they store a ton of energy in a relatively compact space. That's what gives EVs their long driving ranges. But this energy density also means that when something goes wrong, it can go really wrong. The problem isn't that lithium-ion batteries are inherently dangerous. It's that when they're damaged or improperly handled, the chain reaction they can trigger is, well, pretty intense. The term you'll hear a lot in connection with EV fires is thermal runaway. It sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, but it's actually a very real and very serious phenomenon. Here's what happens. If one battery cell gets too hot, maybe due to overcharging, physical damage, or an internal short circuit, it can begin to heat up uncontrollably. That heat then spreads to the neighboring cells, which also begin to heat up.
Oh,
And
that's
before
fun.
you know it, the entire battery pack is cooking itself from the inside out. The result is often smoke, toxic gases, and in worst cases, flames that are incredibly hard to put out. What makes this even more complicated is that the fire doesn't always start right away. Sometimes the damage is done, and then hours or even days later, the
Delayed reaction.
battery goes into thermal runaway. That delayed reaction makes it much trickier to predict and contain.
Which is why that Moss Landing area in California is really interesting, because the fire originally started in January, and then as of January, February, March, and it was still burning a month later. It kind of like reignited. So they thought it was out, but it wasn't out. But then again, it's the fourth time that plant's had a fire, or at least that area.
Now you might be wondering what actually causes that initial damage to the battery. And the answer isn't always cut and dry. One common cause is physical trauma, like during a car crash. Even if the battery casing seems fine on the outside, the impact might have caused something inside the cell to crack or shift, creating the perfect condition for an internal short circuit. Another cause is manufacturing defects. Despite rigorous testing, no system is perfect. If a tiny metallic particle finds its way into the cell during production, it can cause a short circuit weeks or months later. Then there's improper charging. Charging systems have safeguards, but if someone uses an off-brand or malfunctioning charger, or if a battery management system fails, it can lead to overcharging, overheating, and, you guessed it, thermal
Oh,
runaway.
that would suck. Oh man, I had this
Now,
really cool
let's
EV, and
pause.
I needed to charge it, but I went to the wrong charging station, and well, my car caught on fire. Is that covered under my insurance? No, sir. Well, fuck me.
For a second and add some perspective. It's easy to think EVs are more dangerous because we hear more about them when they catch fire. But statistically speaking, gas-powered cars still catch fire more often. Gasoline is extremely flammable, and internal combustion engines have their own fire risks. Leaking fuel lines, overheated engines, electrical faults. What makes EV fires so alarming is that they look more dramatic and they behave differently. They're often harder
Drama
to
queen fire.
extinguish, and they can reignite hours after appearing to be put out. That unpredictability makes them feel more frightening. But again, it's not necessarily that they're more common, just more complex and unfamiliar. To their credit, EV manufacturers are well aware of the risks and are constantly working to improve battery safety. Modern EVs are packed with sensors that monitor battery temperature, voltage, and charge cycles in real time. If anything looks off, the system can shut down or isolate problematic cells to prevent a chain reaction. Battery pack designs have also become more sophisticated. They now include fire-resistant barriers between cells, advanced cooling systems, and even chemical fire suppressants built into the battery casing. In many ways, EVs are becoming smarter and more self-aware than ever, especially when it comes to keeping things from overheating, literally.
Literally.
There's also some really exciting innovation happening behind the scenes with battery tech. One of the most promising developments is solid-state batteries. Unlike traditional lithium-ion batteries, which use a flammable liquid electrolyte, solid-state batteries use a solid electrolyte, which is far less likely to catch fire. These batteries are also more stable and can potentially hold even more energy in a smaller package. They're still in development, but if successful, they could greatly improve both EV safety and performance. At the end of the day, should you be worried about your EV catching fire? Realistically, no more than you worry about your gasoline car bursting into flames. Every type of vehicle carries some risk. What's important is knowing how those risks work and trusting that engineers, regulators, and emergency services are constantly adapting to make these vehicles safer. The EV world is still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, and with anything new, there are learning curves. But we're getting better at this every single year. The goal isn't to eliminate every single fire, because that's probably impossible, but to reduce their chances and control the outcome when things go sideways.
Topping our 5.
Don't know how I feel much safer about that one. I don't. And when these cars and they're talking about storing these batteries, I'm assuming they take it out of the Tesla cars and put them in the storage facilities like the one in Moss Landing and the one in Pennsylvania that caught fire about 4 or 5 months ago. Those were storage facilities where the batteries caught on fire. Now, could that have been prevented? Could they have had some kind of chemical suppression system like they are supposed to have in these new batteries inside their housings? Because those chemical suppression ones fucking suck. If you ever been inside of a military vehicle with those chemical suppression systems on, you don't want to breathe. Let's just say that. It's terrible. And it's not liquid.
Holiday hazards. Lithium-ion batteries have become a staple in our daily lives,
Hey,
powering everything from toys, smartphones, and electric vehicles. While these batteries offer convenience, improper use can lead to serious hazards for homeowners and first responders. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Whitney Burney.
And I'm Simon Shaquette. Here's the top thing you need to know when it comes to lithium-ion batteries. Your device, battery, and charger should all match.
7 News Detroit reporter Peter Maxwell starts us off with a warning we want you to know about staying safe.
Lithium-ion batteries are becoming very common in all of our households. However, they do pose an extreme risk if not cared for properly.
Lithium-ion batteries that are anything we do with solar panels on houses. I mean, all of this, it just creates such a unique challenge for all of us.
If I came home with another lithium battery, she would absolutely freak out.
While many homeowners trust lithium battery operated devices, for Keith Lehman and his wife, it's a different story.
She goes to the garage to investigate to see what's happened. She opens up the garage door and it's completely black and smoke.
Taylor homeowner
Shut the
Keith
door.
Lehman went to work on October 8th completely unaware of what he was going to come home to.
All my tools, of course, were melted to nothing.
Keith thought his batteries for his electric lawn equipment were safe, even while left on the charger.
It just was a domino effect. It lit the other 40-volt battery that wasn't on the charger, was just sitting on the shelf. It was on a metal shelf. That one caught on fire, then caught the other 18 volts on fire. So all those together created a 1,200-degree fire in the garage.
Today, fire department officials from the city of Grosse Pointe, Detroit, Ferndale, and the state fire marshal came together to get the warning out about the potential dangers ahead of Christmas so people can take precautions when people are giving and receiving gifts that may use lithium batteries for power.
Even though they're really well made for the most part, sometimes defective equipment happens. This is what the data is saying. The thermal runaway is occurring because of damage to the battery. Most batteries that are not damaged aren't having these issues.
Overheating, overcharging, and using damaged batteries can result in fires or even explosions. But for Keith, he did not see the potential dangers.
There was nothing wrong with the battery as far as I knew. I didn't see anything defective on it. I didn't see any cracks or breaks or anything on it.
As lithium-ion batteries become more
did you have
common
a
in our
daisy
homes,
chain?
the risk of such incidents increases. Fire departments are urging homeowners this holiday season to unplug after an item is fully charged and store the batteries properly when not in use. As for Keith,
I'm old school. I'm going back to gas and 2-cycle.
on the city's east side, Peter Maxwell, 7 News, Detroit.
He's going back to gas, and I don't know where the fuck he was going with that. All right, so this is the main topic of discussion, where I'm saying that these fires not only destroy the environment as pollution-wise in the air and on the ground, and more on the ground because it is could be affecting our vegetable supply with the air quality, acid rain, and all runoffs into the water supply systems trying to put these fires out, as well as the avian community and, forestry. Because it all ends up coming to the same place, to the ground, to get out of the rain.
I could see the cloud kind of above Monterey and North Monterey County, kind of out over the ocean. I realized on my face it looked like it was burned, like my cheeks and my nose, and I had kind of a large sore kind of burnt area on the side of my nose, and then on a couple little lesions.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Quo. On Thursday, January 16th, a major fire broke out at the Moss Landing lithium battery plant, which is in Monterey County in Northern California. Residents have experienced severe health symptoms since then, including nosebleeds, dizziness, headaches, and respiratory issues, as well as rashes. After I conducted the following interviews with several residents, a community town hall was held last night where hundreds of residents showed up to get answers and express concern over their health symptoms. Let's take a look at some of the moments from that community meeting last night.
This is a lot bigger than here. This is the United States. This is the world.
Is that Denise?
I'm getting phone calls from people across the world. Yay! And this is bigger than any of us thought.
But what's happened here in the last 4 days should never have happened at all.
Amen.
And it can't happen again. There are a lot of really powerful forces in this state and actually in this country that want to see these batteries in place and going.
Not here.
And we don't really matter.
Somewhere else.
Biggest facility in the world was put out there, and we're the guinea pigs for it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in California, there, buddy.
And that is not the way things should be. It's become real clear to me that neither government nor industry really understands how this technology operates. We've had 4 fires in 5 years. So I was out there on Thursday when it was, and I see the smoke coming out, and I saw it starting to dissipate. I was out there with Felix Cortez from KSBW, and we were seeing it going down, and I figured, okay, that's their system, they're cooling it down, there's no problem. I go home, and then we got fire. And what happened at that point? Somewhere that system broke down, and water doesn't work once you get that thing on fire.
Yeah, we know.
A lot of people have said that, hey, let's put sand on it, let's put foam on it, let's do things like that. It doesn't work. We've got a technology here.
You know how you get rid of those fires? Start another fire with a fucking bomb, right? That'll suck the air out of that shit. A bomb.
Which there is no way to control a fire. I made a comment a few days ago, which I stand 100% behind, and I said, this is a 3-mile island event for this industry. Yep. If any of you know in 3 Mile Island, nobody died there.
Right.
Nobody died at 3 Mile Island. But what it did, it scared people.
Not yet.
And this should scare
retard.
people. And it created skepticism about the nuclear energy, and this should create some skepticism about the battery storage industry.
I don't know. I'm a huge fan of nuclear, and if we did have a nuclear fallout site, I might go check it out and see if I can get some, radiation and become the Incredible Javi. You wouldn't like me when I'm not high.
It led to new regulations, effective regulations on nuclear power, and we need new and effective regulations over here, not just here, all through the state. As Tony has said, this is bigger than this area, and it caused a halt and a pause on the building.
I wonder if there's fires around the world.
I'm all for green energy, but I'm for safety first.
Largest one in the world, in our backyard. I live 1 mile away from there. My family has lived here for 5 generations.
Shut up, Tiffany.
So the whole entire place has been taking over and growing without any one of you knowing what is actually happening whatsoever in that area.
In addition to the community meeting, there is a local environmental official who has now said they are not testing for toxins and chemicals that may have been released from the lithium plant.
Oh, shit.
Because they don't know what they're looking for. Let me repeat. They're not testing because they don't know what they're looking for.
Of course not.
This area is known as the salad bowl of America.
Oh, don't eat the salad.
Because so much of our vegetables, greens, as well as fruits are produced here in Northern California and provided to the rest of the country. Yet the environmental official here is saying they're not testing the crops because they don't know the contaminants they're looking for. Yet they've told residents they could come home.
Yeah, you can drink the water.
The fire burned so intensely that county health leaders say any toxins released from the 350,000 megawatt battery facility stayed low to the ground and did not go up with a large plume of smoke. Monday, those health leaders reiterated that air monitoring conducted by the EPA did not detect levels of hydrogen fluoride above the...
I mean, didn't they try to say the same shit about East Palestine, Ohio? Oh, there's nothing. The air's good. You're fine. You guys can return to your homes.
The normal range. There are currently no plans to test the soil or waterways.
Some would say, why not just do it now? We got EPA here. We've got the federal resources here. Let's just do it. Have them do it.
I don't necessarily think that would be prudent just to pull samples when we don't necessarily know what we're looking for.
It's unfortunately the same playbook we've seen in Flint, East Palestine, and so...
So you mean to tell me you have no samples of that ground before the accident happened? And then you can't get a sample now and be like, well, this isn't good. No? That's because you're a fucking scientist and college educated. And I'm just sitting here and getting high.
So many other places. Nothing to see here. Don't panic. The following interviews were done yesterday with 2 residents who live nearby, describing their health symptoms and the lack of answers.
What the fuck is your CNN?
It's Jordan. I am delighted to be joined by Lori. Unfortunately, we are speaking
Dude, is this guy a libtard?
During another public health disaster, an environmental disaster. which is not getting a lot of attention. This time, it is in Northern California, where one of the world's largest lithium battery plants has had a massive fire, which is spreading all sorts of toxic chemicals all over the place, which not just in the immediate area, but as far from what I can tell, 50 miles, 100 miles, I've seen people posting. And you and your family live 8 miles. Let me just tell people where this is. This is
Oh
at
shit.
a lithium plant in Monterey County in Northern California. It's called Vistra Energy. I'll just read from the New York Times here. The plant owned by Vistra Energy is one of the largest battery storage sites in the world and hosts tens of thousands of lithium batteries that store electricity for the power grid. As
So
of
wait, they
now,
can,
it's unclear how the fire started.
you can't reuse them
Let's
though.
talk
That's like
about
you
this.
had to refine them. So what the fuck are they using for power grids for? Maybe I heard that wrong.
Started on Thursday, last Thursday. And when did you start experiencing symptoms? Again, you're living 8 miles from the plant.
Yes, so Thursday I was actually down south at my mom's when it started. I saw it in some of our neighborhood groups, and I had some important errands and things to do at home on Friday. So I was watching the news, to kind of see if it was safe to come home, and didn't really hear very much definitive information. And so in the morning early, I decided to drive home because they were telling us it was okay to go back. Um,
Who was they were telling you that it was fine to go back?
so there were local news broadcasts. The KSBY station was broadcasting press conferences, and the press conference actually started when I was driving back. So I was listening to it as I was driving up through the Salinas Valley. And when I got to Soledad, which is probably about 40 miles away from the site of the incident, I started feeling burning in my throat and lungs inside the car as I was driving. And I got home around 11:30 in the morning on Friday, and my dog and I, walked from the car into the house, and my dog actually threw up twice before we went in the house. And then, so I was kind of keeping him inside and my cat inside, and I was inside. But I did have an appointment that I had to deal with outside because I was getting a propane delivery. And so I was outside for
Wait, so
probably about an hour.
calm down. So yeah, you're right. Solar panels do use these lithium-ion batteries, but it says they are popular because of their long lifespan. I thought it had one of the worst lifespans. Requires less maintenance and can store excessive energy generated by the solar panels for later use. No.
And then the symptoms were pretty bad. So I decided to kind of just stay inside and lay low.
And this was on the day of the fire?
This is actually Friday.
Okay.
The day after it started. So it was burning. A lot of this smoke on Friday, I think, got worse in my direction. I'm literally about between 8 and 9 miles from the site, directly due east. So pretty directly
Anybody
in line.
closer?
And the winds changed and it was blowing towards us. So it was pretty bad. And I have kind of a view. I'm up on a hill, so I can kind of see towards a little bit towards Moss Landing. My neighbor's at the top of the hill, and she can actually see the facility from her house. And then I can also see towards Watsonville and towards Aromas proper, the town of Aromas, which I'm a little bit outside of because it's rural. So I could watch kind of the smoke as it moved and the winds changed.
When you were driving back, you said your lungs started to burn. Like, how far were you from home when that happened?
So when I was in Soledad, when my lungs started burning, but I could see. I drive that way every week, at least once, and I could see the cloud kind of above Monterey and North Monterey County, kind of out over the ocean, all the way from south of King City, which is probably about 80 miles away from my house, or
Wow.
70 miles, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like this greenish, kind of greenish brown cloud hanging over the area.
Yeah,
So I was kind of
green clouds never
observing
been
it
anything
the whole
bad.
way. Obviously, it was
Ever
on my
sitting
mind. I was
Night of the
listening to
Living Dead?
the press conference during that time that was taking place. It started at 10, and I think it ended at around 11, just before I got home. So that was kind of my experience coming up to it.
But you were having these respiratory issues like over 50
Are
miles
you
away
still
from your
having
house.
I can see the burns.
Yes. I started feeling it over 50 miles away from my house, with the windows rolled up, with
Oh, wow.
the air in my car turned off, because I was aware of what was going on. So, and I was actually I was kind of listening to see, should I turn back? Should I stay at my mom's? Should I go home? I have a cat there, so I was really concerned about the animal because he's an indoor
No,
outdoor
she was
cat. So
feeling
I
it
wanted to
50
check on
miles away
him.
at her house.
And then I, had to work.
Bro, I can only imagine what it was like being within those 50 miles. I'm just curious how much further out it went, especially with the winds.
Work the next day and do my appointment that I had to do.
And being outside, you said you were outside the next day for about an hour. What other symptoms developed?
Well, I didn't really notice it right away. I did start noticing my tongue felt like it was burning, like there was a metallic taste. That taste actually started on the Friday also when I was driving up, but it got worse. Metallic taste in my mouth. I have that now. And then my tongue started feeling raw and like it had like sores on it.
Oh, that's gross.
On Friday and then especially on Saturday, the next morning before work. And then when I looked in the mirror at myself right before I was ready to go to work, I realized on my face it looked like
Rosacea.
it was burned, like my cheeks and my nose, and I had kind of a large sore kind of burnt area on the side of my nose, and then on a couple little lesions. They weren't large, but they were like not really blisters, but almost like pimples or something. But the entire area of my cheeks and nose looked burned.
You had sent me pictures. I'll show that, but you could see there, your cheeks are irritated. It looks like a bit of a sore on your left side, and then your nose is definitely red. And yeah, we're now days later, and you could still see you have some
Well, it's a chemical
bit
burn.
of a
rash on your face.
Yeah, it's definitely better. And I did go to work, which is about 22 miles away or so. So I was a little further away. I got a little bit of fresh air for a few hours, but then I went home again. So my face is better now. I'm actually not at my house now. But it was definitely bad on Saturday. It was probably the worst day.
And I want to read, this is just a little bit on what kind of contaminants are produced from a lithium ion battery fire. Not to scare you, but when you mention you're kind of have a metallic taste, that would match with the runoff from such fires include elevated levels of lithium with heavy metals that include nickel, manganese, and cobalt. You also have other contaminants that can be produced. Most alarming would be hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen cyanide, hydrogen chloride, and sulfur dioxide. And I'm seeing online, I'm sure you are, just a whole lot of people complaining of health symptoms, including nosebleeds, headaches, nosebleeds, nausea, dizziness. Can you kind of talk about? Obviously, this is
Scratchy, itchy
California,
throat,
so people are scattered
watery
and
eyes.
people are posting from as close as a few miles to as far as 50 miles. But have you talked to others who are experiencing health symptoms? What else have you heard?
I have heard people mention that they're having nosebleeds, they're coughing,
Wait, so
and
when this plant was burning, the PG&E plant next door, PG&E plant next door was still working. So were they working and inhaling these toxic chemicals at the same time?
definitely respiratory problems. I'm in a couple of local Facebook groups, just about, in the area because, like in Santa Cruz and Monterey, and these are towns that are about 25 miles from the site. People in those areas are definitely having symptoms. People over in Hollister, which is quite a bit inland for me, were having symptoms, and there's even a little bit of like mountains in between. So it seems like the people most affected are kind of in the Monterey Bay, which is kind of like a low-lying area with a couple of mountain ranges around it. I'm just kind of on the edge of that, so that a lot of people in Watsonville, I mean, the wind, I think, blew that direction. So people in Watsonville, Aptos, Santa Cruz, they're all experiencing a lot of symptoms.
And let me read a little bit more about lithium ion batteries and fires. Given the wide range of potential chemicals, there's an equally wide span of chemical hazards in terms of their toxicity, reactivity, and flammability, hazards that can pose both short and long-term effects. Some of these chemicals are well characterized in terms of exposure
Oh,
hazards
that bitch is right
that
on the
include
water.
acceptable inhalation concentration levels, and in some cases, threshold levels for skin contact.
No fucking way.
For example, hydrogen fluoride, which is uniquely dangerous, strong inorganic acid, has been found in smoke for lithium ion batteries at levels approaching 600 parts per million.
Yo, it's right across
Unfortunately,
the
what's
river from a
troublesome about
fucking
this,
wildlife area.
and it's not my first rodeo dealing with the EPA, I don't know what they're testing for. I don't know what equipment they're using to test for it. It seems that very quickly, folks were given the all clear sign to return home. I don't know what that was based on because you mentioned the winds, which move the plume of smoke. It's unpredictable. So tell us about the response from your local government and EPA. What have you been told, and do you trust it?
I
Have they checked the ocean water?
do not trust the response. There was a press release from our local air quality control board in Monterey that said they did not have the equipment to test for the hydrofluoric acid.
Yo, you literally have an
And
army
a
base there in
lot of what
Monterey.
we're being told is that it's safe, but it's also unknown. So I don't quite know how they can say it's both safe to be home or be there, but also have it be unknown. And then the point of testing, and they're doing air testing, I guess. I haven't heard anything about water testing or soil testing.
Oh.
But many of the test areas are actually only inside the facility. And then there's just a couple of testing points that are beyond the facility, like they're near the facility, very close. And then there are maybe 1 or 2 or 3, maybe at the most,
I think the
that
EPA
are a
would be all
little
over this.
further out. But I don't think they're testing like a lot of these populated areas.
Right.
A lot of what's around the actual plant is the Elkhorn Slough, part of the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary. So it's a very sensitive ecological area. There's a dairy, there are cattle.
Oh, I didn't see the dairy.
I heard a story about someone bringing a trailer to evacuate
Yeah, I just look at an
their
overview map,
cattle
Angela.
out of the area. It was about 16 head of cattle, and they were turned away. They were told they would be arrested if they went to get the cattle. They weren't allowed in.
Are you kidding me? That's
then
1,600
the
cattle.
person said that they then perhaps the sheriff could come with them so he could feed the cattle, but they wouldn't let them even give the cattle food or water. So that was not good. And then I heard another story on social media where a woman had a sick child at home and went out to take her kids to school. And then when she went to return to her child, they wouldn't let her through. And she did not take no for an answer and
Right.
basically went through.
What are they gonna
And
do,
then
arrest
later
her?
her husband tried to get through and heard the story from the person at the roadblock. And the husband said, well, you're lucky she didn't run you over. You know, no
Wow.
one comes between a mother, you know, my wife and her kids.
Right.
So
You know,
those are just the types of stories we're hearing.
I want to bring up something else because, of course, we're most focused on the immediate area and all of your health, but this affects all Americans because this area, particularly Salinas Valley, is known as the salad bowl of America, or salad bowl of the world. It produces the farming in this area produces 70% of America's lettuce, and it grows over 80 different types of fruits and vegetables annually. 90% of North America's artichokes, and just going down the list, dominant production of lettuce, broccoli, spinach, strawberries, Driscoll's strawberries, which everybody knows in the supermarket. They kind of have a big monopoly. They are produced here. Cauliflower, celery. I don't know what, if any, crop or soil testing is being done, but I don't think it's dramatic to say that when you have this mass fire and who knows what chemicals in the air and then the ash falling from the air, this could be problematic to the nation's vegetable supply.
Yes, and a lot of the growers in our area grow organic.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of organic lettuces, organic strawberries, small organic farms that are more local, but a lot of very much national, large lettuce, spinach.
Wait, for a state that lives off soy boys, not once did they mention soy. You guys don't plant soy over there in California? Hmm?
Strawberries, kale, you know, a lot of broccoli, Brussels sprouts,
Gross.
artichokes.
Oh, great. We're all so.
Too. The
Right.
further afield, there's wine grapes also. So.
And obviously, it's a busy time. We're speaking on Inauguration Day. You got the Los Angeles wildfires and a whole lot of other things going. But it's been pretty startling to me that this. I mean, I've seen a little bit of media attention, but not much. I mean, this is
I
like the
saw
world's
none
one
until
of the world's
Friday
largest lithium battery plants.
because I wasn't
As
looking
I
for it.
described earlier, I mean, it stores. It's storing thousands of lithium ion batteries. Tens of thousands of lithium ion batteries. And like we just said, this affects vegetables and fruits. Have you seen like a lot of national attention on this in the media?
No, and I've actually been looking out for it because this
I
is
grow my own
the
garlic.
fourth fire that have been at lithium ion battery facilities in the area. We have two facilities that are basically next door to each other. We have Vistra, which is the one that caught on fire this time. It's been on fire 2 other times. And then there's a PG&E facility that is adjacent to it. So they kind of also point fingers at each other a little bit about, oh, it wasn't us this time. But typically, the news is suppressed, especially in the national media, about these accidents. The very first one I heard about from a neighborhood group, people who were listening to the scanner. And at that point, they did not have any legislation that required the local fire department to be coordinated with.
What?
And we have a 36-person fire department who had sent people to Los Angeles to help them
Yeah.
that had to respond to this. Not that they can do anything, but they come and, watch it, I guess, and, report
Roast
and watch it
marshmallows.
burn.
Hot dog.
I'm sure they do a lot more than that, but there's
S'mores.
not, their hands are a little bit tied as far as how much they can do with that type of fire. But after the second, or after the PG&E fire in 2022, that also closed Highway 1 for 8 hours. That was not very, widely publicized either. Much less, actually, than this has been.
Oh, you know
But
why this
that is
wasn't
what spurred the
publicized at all? Because everyone was paying attention to, obviously, the inauguration, Donald Trump, the failed Joe Biden Kamala Harris re-election campaign, and, well, January 6th. Trump bad.
legislation requiring coordination with the local fire and EMS services.
It just seems, from Flint to East Palestine, Ohio, which had the train derailment and chemical detonation. There's been lithium ion battery burning in Piqua, Ohio, which I've covered.
I missed
Then you
that one.
have the chemical fire in Conyers, Georgia
I
in
missed that one.
September.
Oh,
And it just
chemical
seems like
fire.
a
I
similar
did miss
playbook
that.
where somehow within days, the local health
Yo,
department,
what
the
about
EPA says
Pennsylvania,
everything's fine.
motherfucker?
All these chemicals we're not detecting anything out of order. Everybody could come home, but the residents are having health symptoms. And if you're lucky, you get a settlement years later, but who knows about the long-term health effects. Lastly, what are your concerns for you and your neighbors about potential long-term impact?
Well, I'm mostly concerned about young people, because obviously a little bit of an older person.
I couldn't tell.
I'm very upset because it's in such an ecologically sensitive area, as well as being in a somewhat populated area. I can't help but think they put it in this area because we're not as populated as like San Jose or the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, that's where the energy is used. There,
Right.
The bulk of that energy has to travel 50 miles up to that area
Well,
to
if
be
there's not much
utilized. And
trees, it's
we're
actually
probably
easier than
not
it
using
sounds.
all of that energy that's stored up there. So, if it's safe, why don't they put it in big cities where it's used?
Oh, fuck,
Right.
I've been saying
Absolutely.
Pennsylvania the whole
Just
time.
angry. I'm angry.
Actually, Missouri.
I don't
My
blame you.
bad.
I'm sorry for what you guys are going through. I will continue talking to more folks, and please keep in touch. And I guess, unfortunately, try to stay inside as best you can.
Yes, well, I did come to my mother's about 100 miles away, so I'm out of the area right now. But there's still a lot of people who can't do that.
Do you guys have a timetable?
I feel for them, and I'm wondering if, you know, there's a acid respirator that is something people could wear, you know, to help protect them from these chemicals. But we haven't heard anything like that, like what we can do. It almost makes me think they're not saying that because they don't want to admit anything. And the other thing is our governor has been completely mute. I haven't heard one word from him
Well,
about
he
it.
only cares about
And it's
China
his pet project.
and
He
his
not
podcast.
only does he want these facilities, he and the state legislature passed laws like AB 205, which make it so local planning departments don't have any say in these facilities. So basically, the people who are in these areas have no say about whether or not they're in their communities.
Right. Hey. Thank you for taking the time, Lori. I'll stay in
Hey, no
touch with you.
problem.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by Cheryl. Unfortunately, we're here to talk about a ongoing disaster, I think, in Northern California, and it affects not only the residents but
Wait, isn't Northern
potentially everyone.
California a little bit more
This is in
conservative?
the quote salad bowl of the world, where 70% or so of America's
That's the same
greens and
image I pulled up.
vegetables are made here. On Thursday of last week, there was a fire that erupted at the Moss Landing battery plant, which holds lithium-ion batteries. The plant, owned by Vistra Energy, is one of the largest battery storage sites in the world and holds tens of thousands of lithium-ion batteries that store electricity for the power grid. And Cheryl, I mean, you're 18 miles from there, but I'm seeing folks, I mean, everywhere from just a few miles from there all the way to like 50 to 100 miles talking about headaches, dizziness,
Victor's based out of Texas.
nosebleeds, respiratory issues. And I know you've had a bunch of everything. Can you talk to me? When did your symptoms start and what are you experiencing?
Well, everything started mostly because the fire started on Thursday, and by Friday morning I was having metallic taste, trouble breathing. So it kind of started out with that kind of stuff, not being able to breathe, coughing, the metallic taste, the headaches that do not, no matter what I take, I can't get rid of them, and dizziness. So as the days have progressed, the days that I was gone, like on Saturday, I felt fine. Came back here and felt terrible. Yesterday, I could not breathe. I just could not breathe at all when I got
Yeah,
up.
that sucks, George.
So I tried my inhaler, and I don't normally I have an emergency inhaler. I don't normally have to use it.
Is it
And I was
steroids?
using my inhaler. I could not get breath. I had to have somebody drive me to Pacific Grove, about 30 miles away, and on the beach there, just to get the breathing back to where I could actually breathe and get full breaths and everything.
You know, they make these
We've been
cans of
having some weird
breathable
metallic.
air you can get at like sporting goods stores that, you know, kind of helps with things like this. Not that, you know, it's cheap, but I also used to use it for getting oxygen back when I needed them during runs.
Like tastes
It was
going
legal.
on.
It was totally legal.
Here too. Friday it's not copper, it's something else. And Saturday we definitely got a different tasting something in the air. We have an air purifier going, and I notice that when I go to a room that's closed off in the house or outside, breathing starts having problems again. I've gotten sores on top of my tongue, and those are painful. So we've had a lot of, and I've also looked at different groups outside of our little area here right by the plant, and even the towns on.
So far, this is two people that were affected by this incident. Did any of them say they went to the hospital?
Either side of us are reporting symptoms. Oh, nosebleed, that's another one. Um, so, and I've noticed that one trending through different groups. And I do think it's wherever the plume is going. So some people do not have anything, but others of us that live nearby, our little canyons are getting socked in with this. And
And I just want to read, because you mentioned the metallic taste, which a lot of people are complaining about. This is, what types of contamination do lithium ion battery fires produce? And the
Now it
runoff
tastes like
from
iron.
these fires include
Blood.
elevated levels of lithium, but also heavy metals, including nickel, manganese, and cobalt. So,
nickel was a taste I did get yesterday.
I don't even know
And
what nickel tastes
yeah,
like.
there was definitely a nickel taste on top of the metallic, weird chemical taste.
How does you know what nickel tastes
Yeah,
like?
it's not a normal, it's not like you put a penny in your mouth. This stuff is,
right.
you can tell it's not right.
And
I haven't put a
these
penny
types
in
of
my mouth
fires
since I was a
also
kid.
can produce really toxic stuff like hydrogen fluoride, which is very dangerous in high quantities. Hydrogen cyanide,
Oh,
hydrogen
that's safe.
chloride, sulfur dioxide.
That's safe too.
This is not my first rodeo, so frankly, I don't know what the EPA is even testing for, and I don't
You said they're
know
not even testing.
what
Oh, the
equipment
previous
they're
version.
using, because there's been issues in the past where they're
The EPA
using
even tested it.
not the best equipment to test for these toxins. We know what happened in East Palestine with the train derailment and that big chemical plume. Um, your symptoms, were you experiencing them mostly when you went outside, or you were even experiencing them
In my
indoors?
house.
Oh, my
Because
Lord.
first thing they told us was to shut our house up. So I did. And it's an older house, so we're not exactly sealed in here. We're not supposed to run anything that brings in outside air. So a lot of us turned off our
All
heat.
right, so this was from January 18th. This can't be January 18th. Because this one says fucking, last updated 1 April 2025. Huh. It's funny. Back in January 18th, they originally said there was no risk to the public. But now I'm trying to find updated information. That's the only message they have as far as updates. That's fucking weird.
Heaters and just trying to stay indoors as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I do notice when I go away from the area, I feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And I see your cute canine there. Was he having, or he or she having anything?
Oh.
Yeah, my smaller dog.
So this one, let me pull it up for you guys. So this right here is the EPA test from February 11th, about 2 weeks after the incident, and we know that March they had another fire. So looking through here, very high levels of nickel, and the further away it gets from the damn fire, shit, it's all, I don't know where San Juan Batista is. I just can't really tell by this, but it looks like it's a distance away because you got Monterey, Salinas, and then cobalt, which would be the purple, and then manganese. You see the increases up here? Huh. Oh, they took soil tests and it says above screening levels. No shit. No shit. Let's see. No, these are like the day, couple of days after. So yeah, this isn't fucking credible. Not credible, but it's not updated. Where the fuck did it go?
My little chihuahua, he started having
You mean a
coughing
rat?
and sneezing through his nose. And so I started checking him because I thought foxtail or something because we're out in the country, but it wasn't normal. And as soon as we started running the air purifier or we got him out of area with me, he was fine. The bigger dog doesn't seem to be showing any symptoms, or the cats, but he definitely was showing something.
Well,
And he got relief
chihuahuas are
when I
devil
removed
dogs,
him
so
from the area. And then when we started running the
you
filtration
guys hear
system.
that they unexterminated huh, a certain type of wolf. Now I want one. But sounds like they might have genetically modified it. So damn you Russians.
Wow. And can you kind of talk about, obviously, there's a Facebook page that's popped up. There's going to be a meeting tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff surfacing online, but in terms of your neighbors or friends you've spoken with in your neck of the woods, other places, you hearing from a lot of other people similar symptoms?
Yes, I thought it was very interesting because some people I talked to, like my best friend, I had her go out of town
Right.
because she had that availability to go to her brother's. And she is on the top of their canyon and she didn't have any symptoms.
It's the
She's
top of a
completely
canyon,
fine.
retard.
So I've been checking in with various people and checking on Facebook, and it's the places that I've been seeing it more with my friends are the ones that live at the bottom of these little canyons that we have, or at the end at
Almost
the
like the
bottom, like
canyons
I
don't push
am.
air down.
So, and I've also been noticing some people in Castroville, which is the town over that they evacuated to out of Moss Landing. Even some of those friends have been experiencing some burning, throat burning. I had that as well.
Yo, if that plant's on fire, why
And
does
some
the
coughing. So
tower
they're
still have
starting to
lights?
get
I
some
mean,
of the
granted, the
symptoms
airplanes
we've been
don't hit it,
having
but
here. So
if
I
they
think
don't
as the
see this,
wind
see, look,
changes and
why are the lights still onto this plant? If the fucking airplane doesn't see this building on fire, I don't know. Maybe they shouldn't be flying airplanes. Unless it's Snoop Dogg. Then, Snoop Dogg was a pilot.
the plume goes, it gets different people and then settles down in our fog. The reason why we have such great produce here is because we have a fog layer that comes in. But somebody had posted on Facebook that they were noticing, usually when the fog comes in, it rolls in and it's fog. They've
Yeah.
been noticing something from the fields going up into that fog
Right.
layer that they'd never seen before.
I was going to say, do
And
you
these
guys have a lot of moss in the area? I know in Germany, the way, you look into movies and they're like, oh man, there's so much smoke in the area. Apparently, it came from the moss in Germany. So in the summers, was it the summers? Whatever it was, early in the mornings, you would see what you thought was a fog. It was just the moss with the smoke rising up out of it. It was amazing. I loved it. And that's probably why Europe is a little different.
are people that have lived here forever, since the
Mm-hmm.
80s.
And
You would notice those things.
speaking of that, I don't want to be dramatic or alarm people, but I mean, this area, Salinas Valley. It's called the salad bowl of America or the world. I mean, as much as 70% of America's vegetables or greens that go in salads is produced here. It is over 80 different types of fruits and vegetables annually are produced on farms here. We're talking lettuce, broccoli, spinach, strawberries, Driscoll Farms, which Driscoll Strawberries is made here. Everybody knows
Dole,
that. Dole.
Dole is also here.
Did you say coal?
Ready Pack.
So,
Anything that you see in a
Speaking of
bag,
coal,
it probably comes from here.
West Virginia is about to get a ton more jobs, guys, as well as any other major city, or not major city, major rural areas that have coal mines. Donald Trump signed an executive order pretty much unleashing American energy. And that's one of the things he signed over. That's why I was a little bit late.
so I mean, I don't know what chemicals were produced from this fire. I don't know what the EPA is testing for. I don't even know if they're testing farmland yet. So this has potential to contaminate a whole lot of farmland that produces the rest of America's veggies and fruits.
Yeah, I think it very much could.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What do you think of so far? It seems like other disasters I've seen, you pretty much got like a hey, everything's safe alert, go home pretty quickly, which I don't know how they would be able to declare that because the
Yeah,
fire
especially
was
so
going on
close.
for several days. What
yep.
did you think of the response from the local government as well as the EPA?
terrible. They're not telling us much. They're telling us that there's nothing in the air. It's perfectly safe. They lifted the evac pretty fast and told everybody to come home. And they're not communicating much of anything. Like the alerts, not much. And they're telling us it's safe, but I'm sorry, if we're having this kind of
Why are they
reaction,
trying to cover
it's
this
not
up?
safe. And we've had people find machines to kind of check it, but yeah, we do not know if they're checking for any of those chemicals. And you're getting conflicting stories. One is lithium battery. Oh, there wasn't any lithium batteries in there. Yeah, there was. And you
It's
can
literally a
see
storage
from
facility.
satellite pictures of the thing. And this isn't our first fire from here. So we've had more. And last time they did the same thing. A lot of us believed them, believed that they would put in place. When I was looking at the news things, nobody had they have to submit a plan saying, hey, what are we going to do in a case like this? And I don't even, it looked like not even the city officials or anybody had access to these plans.
Right. And
And
also obviously there's a big push for electric vehicles. There's a lot of countries have the cobalt and other crucial materials. So obviously this has been a pet project of Governor Newsom, these lithium battery plants. So on one end, it's better than burning fossil fuels, but on the other end, you need safe storage, clearly, so it seems like they want to just kind of move on as quick as possible, despite there not being any thorough testing. Because with this
So
fire, you have combustion and a whole.
So how are they going to explain? Hear me out. And they'll probably blame it on tariffs. The lack of salad bowl material coming out of that area, considering they make up a huge portion of our market. So how are they going to try to, play this? They're probably not going to mention this at all, and they're going to blame it off tariffs from Mexico and South America. Watch. They're already doing it.
A lot of byproducts.
well, the other thing is we are a marine sanctuary. That thing is right in the middle,
Yeah, I saw that.
right there on the coast. And it's right in the middle, right by the Elkhorn Slough, which is a marine sanctuary, and out on the bay. It's right there. And the tides and everything go right into the bay and then back. We get a lot of our fish from there. So it's not, my
Oh
concern
man.
isn't just for produce and the people, it's also for our bay that we work so hard to get this whole area. We're bringing back a lot of clams, and there's a lot of stuff that Mbari is doing locally. And now we got this thing that keeps catching on fire, and it's right there, right by these places that are, I can't even think of the word. My brain is with the headaches. Things aren't getting rid of it. But you know what I'm
Uh-oh.
talking about.
I use that excuse too.
And what's going to happen with that?
Also, I mean, obviously there's a lot going on. We're talking on the day of the inauguration. You got the LA wildfires, but
This is why it
I
was an
think
afterthought.
mainstream media is pretty terrible anyway. But even for that, I've seen, other than like some local news articles, I've seen very little attention on this in the media.
No,
which seems bizarre considering, like we said, this is like 70% of America's greens and vegetables and fruits are manufactured here. So this affects the whole country.
It's
And a
tariffs in
lot of us have
particular
reached out
going to
to
create this,
local
guys.
news. We tried to reach out to various things to get some sort of attention, saying, hey, we're still having symptoms and we don't feel like this is being taken care of, or we also don't feel like where are they putting all of these testing things that they're doing? And like you said, what are they testing for?
Where
And
did
are
they
they
put all
going out farther
the
because the
burned up
stuff
shit?
rises up and goes into the atmosphere and moves? So something right next to the
Ashes
plant
got to
may
go
not have
somewhere.
much to tell them.
And also the wind is everything. So as
Yes.
the wind changes, I mean, it could be mostly dropping ash in one area today.
Angela. Sure,
by
everybody knows
tomorrow
I looked
be
up the
20
entire
miles
area
somewhere
on the
else.
map.
And I don't know how they're tracking that. But based on what I've seen, it seems very kind of focused on the immediate area. And I mean, we've covered the East Palestine disaster in Ohio. And I mean, the EPA's own officials acknowledged that the testing equipment they were using was not really equipped to even detect certain levels of
Wait a minute.
contamination. So it just.
You think this one didn't get any traction because he said the fucking LA fires are going on around the same time. So nobody's going to focus on this one. They're just going to be thinking, oh, yeah, it's probably, just an after effect of the LA fires because, the winds and all. Or even it did, but the news in California would also have been strictly on the LA fires. This was hidden. This was hidden on purpose.
Kind of seems like the same playbook here. Last year, September, there was a chemical plant factory in Georgia. Chlorine gas was spreading in the air. So, and California with the geography, I mean, you got valleys and all sorts of different topography. So, I know that there's a meeting tonight. Can you kind of talk about? It seems like community members are coming together. There's a Facebook page. What has been the communication? Because it seems like residents are having to band together because they're not getting.
That's exactly what's happening. Is I'm getting, I'd say 100% of my information from Facebook media. Facebook posting things
X.
When they find things. So when they find numbers from local things saying that it's people have had testers in their home. I forgot the name of it, but it is on that Moss Landing thing list that you're on. And so that's where I'm getting all my information from because I can't trust the media. They're not. They're just.
So, hear me out. They really want to make some money and fine these companies, right? Totally forgot what I was going to say because I had to. Oh, fuck me.
Just regurgitating whatever they're being told by the officials that are, and I don't trust Vista at all.
There we go. Not a big fan of the federal government anyway. But why don't they find these storage plants every time a fire happens? And I'm not talking about like millions. I'm talking about like double-digit billions. If you guys aren't ensuring the safety of the people, the equipment, the wildlife, the environment, then maybe you should make it feel it where it hits you the most in your pockets, right? Investors will be smarter and they'll either be like, oh, this is a poor investment because they just let this shit happen. Or, damn, I closed the name of it. Anyway, the Vista, whatever the fucking company's name is, I'll look it up again later. They're a big corporation with many of these storage facilities around the country. So why not? They can afford it. Eventually they'll be like, oh shit, this was a bad idea. We should have fixed it.
Right.
They've done this before, and now we got another one, and it's the same exact playbook they did last time.
And I should specify, thanks for saying that, Vista had fires before at this location.
Yes.
So,
and I got cancer last year. I don't have any genetic markers for it. And we lost a dog due to brain cancer. So my question is, what's going into our water? We're all Prunedale's wells and septic tanks. We don't have city water here. And it feels like they're not really informing. And there's a lot of people that are going by what the media told them and basically poo-pooing anybody that has symptoms.
Right.
Oh, you must be sick.
Did
I'm
she
not
say
sick.
poo-pooing?
And can you describe for people not from California, the plant is in Monterey County and the surrounding areas. I mean, you got valleys and canyons, but is this
Boats.
a rural area, more urban, mixed?
It's mixed. So Prunedale, Moss Landing, Elkhorn, all of those areas would more than likely have a well
They
system,
literally have a bay.
and it's more rural. You get into Salinas and Monterey, you're into a
What's
more
those
city
construction
looking
days?
area.
Almost 6 the
So
fucking
it's just that right around that plant, it's mostly not a lot, not a big population for a city. We're all kind of more country.
Mm-hmm. And I take it they're not saying, stay indoors, don't go to
They
work.
did. They told us to stay indoors, keep our
right.
windows and doors shut. That's the only advice they've given us. And
No timetable.
But what about if you
so
have to go to work or,
then you drive to work and you hope that they keep you indoors. If not, you're outside and you're working. There's a lot of people out here that have livestock. They have to
right,
go out and deal with their cows and their sheep and everything else. And their
right.
livestock is at risk. And there's also, families that raise their own cows and things like.
I'm surprised a lot of vegans don't know about this, right? Or what's the other one? Vegetarians. Considering this is where most of their fucking food comes from.
that, like my neighbor across the street, what's he going to do with his cows? They can't go indoors. And,
But also, I
this
mean,
is,
if their livestock is inhaling
yeah,
God knows what, and that's then being, shipped off for steak or whatever else,
Yeah, because
milk,
what if it gets in their
well, they
not
bloodstream and
great.
raise
they
it
end up
for
eating?
local people who want to, have grass fed beef that's organic and treated well. That's one of the big things about having a neighbor with a cow, raising cattle. You can buy from them and get
Yep.
really safe meat, or 4-H can do it. So,
Yeah, you can literally buy a cow. I think it's fuck. I can't remember what it was here, but a cow can pretty much feed a family of 4 for the whole year, especially if you get a deep freeze.
yeah, the mornings aren't very good. They're not, stay indoors and keep your doors shut and everything. That's what they told us last time. So,
And lastly, I mean, you were talking about nosebleeds, which is pretty serious. I mean, before this happened last week, where you mentioned cancer, but other than that, were you relatively healthy? You weren't having these nosebleeds?
oh no, I don't get nosebleeds. That's not
We
normal
never
for
done
me.
cocaine.
Right,
Same thing with the sores on my tongue. They cropped up on the top of the tongue, and those aren't normal stuff
right,
for me. And and I'm noticing other people that are posting about bleeding noses and all that, not normal for them. And I've noticed a lot of them are people in Moss Landing closer to the plant, children
right.
Well, that's
with
not
nosebleeds.
bad at all. Looks like you can get a whole cow, um, for about $500. That's straight from the farm and butcher, where you pay a $65 kill fee.
And
Not bad. That's the next
the
town
only
over.
advice we can give them is get out. But what if you don't have money to go anywhere?
Because even if you're indoors, I mean,
Oh, and they
you
have
could have
pigs
air
too.
purifiers going, but that doesn't mean stuff can't get through your furnace or whatever else.
Well, yeah, and if you don't, like me, I live in an older home. We don't have this thing sealed up. We have very
Right,
mild weather here.
right,
Air gets in and out
right.
and a lot of our
Well, it's
homes
not
out here
airtight.
are
So.
older homes, and
Hmm.
we don't worry about it because, like I said, mild weather.
Right. But when you have this cocktail of chemicals and ash from fire coming out of the sky, that's not a good combination.
No, it's not.
Yeah, we will stay on this. Sorry you're going through this. And yeah, people should pay attention because this is happening.
Crazy, right? You know how long it took to find a long enough interview with non-media that was more than 3 minutes, 4 minutes? You never get the full gist of that because it's edited and drawn down, and they really don't care. They just care about their little click. What'll get them the click views? You know. Yeah, this was definitely not what I was expecting to hear.
In more
This was
places.
2 months ago. Yeah, this is like a month after. So how's this the inauguration? Whatever. Still, this one was like released 2 months ago and still nothing about it. Huh. I always find a way to find random YouTubers and get some good shit. Especially when it doesn't really involve like politics. Anyway, that was interesting. So, who knows how many more of these fires that our US government has actually hidden from us? And either played smoke and mirrors and brought the attention to something else, or people just didn't know. You don't report it, no one knows. Until people start getting sick. And then they blame it on measles. I mean, bird flu. I mean, COVID. Flu. RSV. You know what? Trying not to get banned off YouTube. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the second show of the day with the kind-hearted comments. Not really, because I'm pretty much of an asshole and say whatever the hell like comes to my mind. But I'm not telling you how to think. I'm just telling you. You should probably think. It helps. Open your mind. Free your mind! And the rest will follow.